All right, Buzzito, time to welcome our guest, and I'm really proud of this individual, having covered his career in Strikeforce, where he showed so much potential. You know his athletic pedigree, and we'll talk about that. But coming up at UFC 197, April 23rd, the opportunity of a lifetime for OSP.
Yeah, you know me.
You down with OSP?
Yes, you know me.
Well, he was born Ovince Preux, but he is joining us now on Rutan and Ranallo. And Ovince, congratulations. Tell us how this opportunity of a lifetime came to fruition.
It was just a Saturday afternoon, not like 2 weeks ago. She ended up getting a phone call, and Joey, he told me he was leaving the gym, and asked if John had a replacement. He said no, and asked him if I wanted to fight, and he said of course. And it kind of took off from there, and pretty much ever since then, everything been kind of a little crazy, but to say the least, we've been doing pretty good about staying focused.
Were you in training already? Is this one of these things that, okay, if there's a big fight going on, like the Jones and Daniel Cormier, that you say, I'm going to keep training because you never know if something happens?
Yeah, it just, a lot of things always happen. When people getting ready for big fights, you can either overtrain or, you can either get hurt at training, so you always want to keep yourself prepared. I was prepared to take a short notice fight, and it's just one of them things where there's just a lot of people within the division that have a fight right now, so something was bound to happen. So, this situation came about, and actually the situation was actually a blessing within itself too, just because my coach was saying, he was like, man, I can feel something's going to happen, and you're going to end up taking this fight, and that's exactly what happened.
You have been a lifelong athlete. You competed in track in high school. You were a high-level football player, played with the University of Tennessee Volunteers. You wrestled. You know what it takes to keep your body in tip-top shape, and yet this is a combat sport, a contact sport. And Ovince, you're getting this title shot because of another injury. And I'm wondering, what is your take on the spate of injuries in MMA and combat sports in general?
I mean, just in sports in general, it's hard. It's hard. It depends. Different coaches got different training styles. Different teams, different, training camps have different training styles. It's one of them things to find a happy medium. My body don't actually work the same way as, everybody and everybody that I train with. I've been training within athletics all my life, so, I know when my body needs to taper off doing something. I know how far I can push my body. I know what type of treatments I need. Pretty much every day I'm doing some form of treatment just because, I'm training 3 times a day. That's been going on for the past 10 days, and my body's still complete. I'm still able to train at a high level just because I'm my recovery process. I'm seeing my chiropractor, cold tub, ice tub, massage therapist, hyperbaric chamber. I'm getting stretched practically every day, so it's just different. It's just something that it's funny. You got to play with. It's not for everybody, and everybody's body don't work the same either.
So what do you think is the biggest problem fighters do? The biggest mistake they make, and that's why they get injured. You think it's sparring, hard sparring, close to the fight?
That can be it. It can be hard sparring, or a lot of times it just can be overtraining. A lot of times it's hard sparring too. It depends how hard sparring. You got to know. You got to think. You want to get in good work. You want to try to simulate the fight as much as possible, but you also want to do it in a safe manner too. So you want to spar hard, but if recognize when a fighter takes a big shot during training, and you have to have good training partners too. So that comes to it, but along with hard sparring, that comes along with overtraining too. So you can have a good sparring session, or going into a sparring session with your body overtrained. You want to, like I said, you want to treat your body just the way sparring session. You want to treat it like a fight night. So you want to make sure that overtraining type of feel is not lingering and can make your sparring that much harder.
You want to expedite your training camp. You were forced to, and it's not just for any fight. It is for the UFC light heavyweight championship, the interim title. Do you like the tag interim, Ovince, or would you rather just this be for the number one contender to Daniel Cormier's championship? I think the word interim, the whole process, the whole significance, just, it takes away from the real belt. Don't you agree?
It does, but at the same time, it's there for a reason. It's one of the things that came about. If the champ is hurt, they need somebody to fill in that gap. And when the champ come back, they can end up fighting for that spot. That person is going to be in the first line to go. So, it's there for a reason. It's been around, for a while, but at the same time, it's a belt. So it's a belt. So I'm just excited about that. So
yeah, you're right.
And what about the training camp itself, Ovince? You took this fight on 3 weeks' notice. You talked about how you keep your body prepared year round. What is the area? What is the one area when you look at a guy like the guy who's considered the pound for pound best in the sport, John Jones? What's the one major area you're focusing on with time running out?
There's just no specific area. It's just, of course he's long in range and stuff. So I think my range, kind of can match his because I'm pretty long myself. Of course, watching for his wrestling and stuff. But my biggest thing is what my coach told me is, just practically try to keep everything the same. We got, game planning and that and stuff, but at the same time, I want to make sure that I'm going to go in there and have fun. As long as I go in there and have fun and be the relaxed Ovince that he knows I'm going to do just fine. Now, at the end of the night, I'll get my hand raised.
Yeah, I think for you it's a no-lose situation. You're going to go in with no pressure. This is going to be people are going to expect you to lose, and that's a great thing for a fighter because you're going in, and when there's no pressure, you just fly. And he really takes it to the heart. He really thinks that you're going to be a big threat. I mean, he just flew in Yoel Romero to help him in his camp because he said, he's got that unorthodox striking. He's very strong like Ovince is, and he's a southpaw like OSP is. So he's taking this very serious.
Just like. You have to, and with the caliber fight that you have to take it seriously. And with me, for my what I've been telling people is, I got nothing to lose, everything to win. The pressure's not on me at all. I know how I can perform, and I know I will perform to the best of my abilities on the 23rd. And that's all I'm going to do. And all I'm going to do, stay low, keep it moving. Even when I fly to Vegas, still do what I need to do. I'm gonna do all my obligations and stuff, but I'm gonna do the little boring lifestyle I always have. Practically stay cooped up in the room until fight night. Do my training, cut my weight, make weight, and just wait for fight night and put on a show.
Is weight a concern?
No, definitely not. Weight is not a concern. People don't realize, I usually walk around pretty much in my 220s, and basically when I found out about the fight, the weight just basically came off on its own.
What is I was reading a WTF moment. You say, usually there's a WTF moment at the end of my fights. You go back, you watch my fights like I've had in the UFC, and it's almost at the end every time. What do you mean with that? Give me an example.
A lot of times people don't realize what happened. Point taken. It's just like, I knocked somebody out ground and pound. It was in the guard, and not too many people do that a lot.
Yep.
The Von Flute choke, the high kick with Jimmo, the uppercut with Patrick Cummings, the hit with Shogun. A lot of times you just people, they only look at the fight and something will happen, and next thing you know, they were like, what just happened? What just happened? It's almost like a WTF moment.
That's quite a highlight reel you've accrued. Just hearing you talk about it is pretty impressive. going back to Mauricio Shogun Rua, which remains, I believe, your most significant victory, the biggest name in his backyard in Brazil, a hotbed of Vale Tudo, the spiritual birthplace of MMA with the Gracies. What was that moment like, Ovince? You beat him quicker than anyone else. I believe it was 34 seconds.
Yeah.
Talk about that moment.
That moment within itself is, like I said, I was within the zone. I was going down to Brazil. Nobody gave me a chance. It's almost like I could say it's almost like a similar situation here. It was a last-minute fight. I found out about the fight 8 days prior, and I just got in my zone. It was just my trainer and I downstairs, and everybody kept on telling me, "Why you seem so relaxed? Why you seem so relaxed?" And I'm like, "Bro, I got nothing to worry about." I went in there, and in 34 seconds, I did my thing.
You sound like this is just another fight in your demeanor, but you talk about there being no pressure, and yet on your social media, and I love your tweets, by the way, they're always something of substance. You tweeted a couple of days ago, "Victory is reserved for those who are willing to pay its price." Of course, that's Sun Tzu. What is the price that you believe you will have to pay at UFC 197 in order to have your arm raised as the interim UFC light heavyweight champion and one of the biggest upsets in the history of the sport?
To be honest, if you kind of look at it, I'm paying the price right now. I'm sacrificing. I put everything on my whole entire life on hold. My birthday was last Friday. I put that on hold. My dad's birthday was on Tuesday. He just turned 75. I was supposed to be there celebrating with him. I put that on hold. I put a lot of things on hold just for this. And, not too many moments like this not too many chances come like this too often. A lot of times with the opportunity, what made me successful in Strikeforce too, I took short notice fights. People didn't realize that, and, that helped me out tremendously. I think I do very well under pressure with this, when something is short notice. So that's exactly how I'm feeling right now. That's why at times, training camp hasn't been fun this past, week and a half. Haven't been fun at all. But at the same time, I know what's at cost. So, and I'm just going to keep my eyes on the prize and keep moving forward.
Well, happy belated birthday, by the way. Yeah, you said it's last Friday the 8th. 33 years old. I always tell people 33 was the age that I was the strongest. I was the smartest in fighting. I calculated everything, and I was just bizarre strong. Do you have the same feeling? And by the way, DC offered to help you, and you didn't take it. Why didn't you take that?
Well, the thing is, I've been telling people, too, it's just, my trainer and I, we've been together since day one. I didn't know how to do a triangle. I didn't know how to do anything. Basically, everything I learned was primarily through him. And, I had a lot of help along the way. Worked with, been out to California, worked with Hendo before. Been out to Atlanta, worked with kickboxing coach over there in Manu, my wrestling coach, John Leverance. But besides that, it's just, we started this from day one. We had it, we still have it. July 20th, 2007, I asked my coach, I was like, how far do you think I can make it? He said, you can be a champ. Pretty much after that, it just kept our eyes on the prize, and something that we started back then, and, we're going to actually see it through.
The first time, by the way, that we met was all the way in Aruba at Vendetta Fighting Championships. I would just. Do you still remember that ring speaker, the guy with the sleeveless tux and the little what is it? What do you call that thing?
Bow tie.
Bow tie. He had nothing underneath. Oh. It was the craziest show there ever. It was great. That was just when you came off the calf slasher win, I believe. Right? That's what we talked about.
Calf crusher in WWE, by the way.
That's it. Yeah, I like that word better actually.
I do remember that.
Ovince, I look at your name, Ovince St. Preux, and we have fun, of course, with OSP. I hope you don't mind, by the way. I always get a kick out of every time I mention OSP, since doing it on that one broadcast, everybody always immediately, it's like a call and response. Yeah, you know me. Did you like the song? Did you grow up a Naughty by Nature fan?
I kind of, somebody, I think my cousin mentioned it to me one time, and I was trying to, stay up under the radar to see if anybody going to catch up to it, but, if one person said it, another person was going to say it. So, it don't bother me at all. So I'm not too worried about it.
That's awesome. Your name, St. Preux. Preux is French for gallant and valiant, and you'll have to be both of those, of course, at UFC 197. But it sounds like you are ready for the task at hand, and I know you aspired to be a professional football player. I guess this is your Super Bowl on April 23rd.
Definitely. Things happen for a reason. I always think the good Lord puts you in different situations for a particular reason. Football wasn't the route for me, and it just so happened I just stumbled into mixed martial arts, and look what it has done for me now. And I think the opportunity for me within the sport is endless. So, April 23rd will definitely show a lot of people I belong here.
Did you ever think you were going to be a fighter? I mean, a question for you would be, what is happening with the human society? Is everybody functioning in this world? I mean, you graduated in sociology. What did you think that you were going to use that for?
Well, the thing was, I'm still actually planning at some point in time to actually start taking online classes to actually work on my master's and stuff.
Wow.
I was offered, they talked to me at one point in time to go to law school, and I opted out of that just because, you got to do a lot of reading, and I don't like to read all that much. So when I was in college, I kind of opted out of that. My career, I don't know exactly where it's going to go into. It's just one of them things where, it was going to be something helping people. But at the same time, this mixed martial arts thing came out of nowhere. I was doing it to stay in shape. I was one of those guys who was watching it back. And I remember when I was in college, I was watching it, and I was like, these guys are crazy. You would never find me doing anything like this. And I happen to be one of these guys, and I'm actually proud of it.
Yeah, the ultimate dichotomy. You just said you thought it would be helping people. Well, instead, you're in a one of the more combative sports that there is that exists. And yet, I wonder, what do you take with you to the cage, and what do you leave with from the fight? And what I mean by that is, Ovince, obviously when you're walking to the octagon, what is the mindset, and do you have rituals, as it were? And I mean, every fight is different, but what do you take away, learning not only about yourself, but maybe the human condition, as it were?
I mean, I always learn that no matter what, if you think, there's times within the cage, sometimes like you be like, okay, man, I'm hurting. And then I always tell myself, you're never hurting, because I've been here before. I've been there before, so I can't hurt right now. And a lot of times I just let everything just basically tone everything out, and the only people I can hear is in my corner, and that's the only people I need to hear. So as long as I can hear them, and they spin the game plan out to me, I'm going to be perfectly fine.
Is that something you always had, even all the way going back in school when you did wrestling, football? I mean, the 4x100 meters relay. I mean, you did everything, discus even. Was it at that time already that you could simply focus?
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. Is I think that's when the athletics came about. Is listening. Listening is crazy when you playing football. You listen to 110,000 people, and you can basically hear your decoordinated screaming, and they're like, okay, if you tuning everybody out and you can hear that one person screaming. But things happen for a reason. Football was, I think, a focus point for me, and that actually made my MMA game that much better, even with watching film, with footwork, on the proper way to actually work out, and actually listen. I think the biggest thing about it is the discipline aspect of it is, kind of being patient, listening to your coach.
And I always ask this. This question is very interesting for me. What were you as a kid like in class at the time? Because you could control it on the outside. Was this something that you could do in the classroom as well? Because I, for instance, was really good at focusing in sports, but not in the classroom.
Well, it sounds like it, though, if he was going to law school. Or could have gone to law school.
Yeah, but still, he said he didn't like to read. And are you that kid that always got in trouble, that always was making noise, that couldn't sit still, that had to go to the restroom every time because he needs to move?
I didn't have a problem in class. To be quite honest, all I did when I was an undergraduate was just show up to class. I showed up to class, sit down. As long as I showed up and sit down and paid attention in class, I was perfectly fine. Half the time, I pretty much remember everything that my professor put on the board and I took, relatively good notes. And, half the time I didn't even read my books. I only did a quick overview, and when it came to test time, I was pretty much good to go.
The backflip.
Wow. Have you had your IQ tested?
No.
It sounds like you are a smart individual, both inside and outside of the cage. And Ovince, I wanted to ask you about your contributions and what it means for you to be a member of the Omega Psi-Phi fraternity, which, of course, has a cultural significance.
It definitely means a lot. I mean, it's one of them things where, within my fraternity, a lot of people think fraternity is just something within college. No, our fraternity is like a lifetime thing. I still am heavily involved within my fraternity doing, community service work. I try to help out as much as possible. Everybody keeps me in the loop as much as possible, but, the past couple of weeks been a little strenuous, so everybody been kind of actually just, look, don't worry about us right now. We just I know you got stuff to handle, so definitely a big support from them. So just doing that and, just working on that, but also, too, even my gym, like we do like, even my gym, we have our own organization, the Elysium organization, and it helps. It's a non-profit organization to, help, kids, troubled kids to actually get involved in mixed martial arts or get involved in some type of martial arts. Just for the simple fact, everybody knows when you do martial arts, the basic thing that it teaches you is to be humble and disciplined. And it helps discipline too. So, it's something that we're working on and I'm happy to be part of it. So both with the Elysium organization and also with, my fraternity.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say Omega Psi-Phi, the first predominantly African-American fraternity. And by the way, bless you for what you are doing to give back and not only help kids, but I wonder, and it still bothers me that in 2016 it's still a thing, but when you look at being an African-American athlete, do you feel that there is an innate pressure for you to be a role model or do you feel that, all of this should be a thing of the past a long, long time ago, and yet here we are, we still deal with racial issues in this country, and I'm wondering how it impacts you, if at all.
I mean, the biggest thing is just like, if you're an athlete, if you're a professional athlete of whatever sort, whether you want to be a role model or not, you are a role model. Somebody's going to be out there looking up to you, and you don't know it, and, that person can be very close by. And, a lot of times things happen, but it's just one of them things when you think about it, things don't get better overnight. Yep. It takes a while for things to get better. So, it's one of them things where, 70, 80 years ago, they had the civil rights movements, a lot of people that was born into that generation to remember it. We weren't born into a generation that actually happens like that. But now, when I have my grandkids, they won't know anything about it. They probably won't know anything about it. So, the only thing you can do is kind of, teach and learn. And that's it. And that's the only thing as humans, the only thing we can do is learn from our mistakes.
I know you're fighting John Jones and you're only focused on him as the fighter, but what do you think of him and his reputation outside of the cage?
It's not me to actually. I don't judge no man. That's not me. I've never done that. So particular people have different ways of handling stuff, having fun. Sometimes my trainer get on me for being out too much or doing something too much, and he's like, I'm not going to judge you, just you as a character or whatnot, but just make sure you be careful. The thing about being a high profile athlete is, you got a lot of the eyes are on you, and you will get scrutinized for every little thing that you do. So it's almost like walking on. It feels like sometimes you got to walk on eggshells. I think that's the pressure about it. A lot of times people want to feel like people wants to know what's it like to be us sometimes, and at times we just want to be like that quiet somebody who just if we weren't that high profile athlete, would have never been in the situation. But like I said, it's not me to judge anybody.
Good for you. Good for you. Listen, we're not going to keep you long because I know you want to take a nap before you're going to train. I had like one more question. I was just wondering about if that is from the fraternity that we just talked about. You had that. We talked about it in Aruba as well. The scarification you have, is that on your shoulder? Is that logo from the fraternity?
Yeah. I got one. I got two on my right arm, two on my left side, one in my right arm, and one in my left leg. So yeah, it's definitely for my fraternity.
Yeah, I always wanted to do that, but apparently it only goes with the African Americans. They can do that. With white people, it doesn't work. It doesn't come out as cool as that you have it.
Well, before we let you go, I just want to quickly get your thoughts on the strategy against John Jones. And yes, you are an underdog. And earlier I said it could be one of the biggest upsets in the history of the sport. I think that's the media guy and me hyping it up, because when you look at what you bring to the cage, OSP, you do have opportunities. And I think your size is one of them because of the fact
that 1 inch smaller.
Yeah. Also your speed. And let's not forget your punching power. And I'm wondering, when you look at John Jones and look at the game plan, and I know, you won't tell us what it is, but have I hit on areas that you want to exploit?
There's certain situations where, my coach has looked at a lot of stuff that there's certain situation that he wants to exploit. There's certain situation that he knows he can exploit. And, this last 2 weeks, as draining as it's been this last 2 weeks, at the same time, it's been full of excitement, too, just because of what's going on within my game plan. And, I'm definitely excited about it, and it's something that y'all going to have to see, which is going to be pretty good.
Well, right. Bazito, it's hard after hearing this interview not to be rooting for a guy like Ovince St. Preux.
Our boss rooting for you.
But honestly, Ovince, thank you so very much for your time. I know how crazy your schedule has been, but to see where you started and to realize the athletic pursuits and the commitment that you've had to your career. I know this opportunity came at a time that no one expected, but it sounds like you're ready to make the most of it.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's the biggest thing about opportunity. You just can't wait for it. The minute is there, the minute's presented to you. I tell myself every time if an opportunity, happens to have the door locked and the door end up cracking open, I'm not going to try to, wait for somebody to open the door for me. I'm going to put my foot right on the door and bust it open.
Boom. Best way to wrap things up. He is Ovince St. Preux. And coming up on Saturday, April 23rd at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, he will face John Jones for the UFC interim light heavyweight championship. Bless you, OSP. And you know that Rutan and Ronaldo is down with thee.
Thank you.